Good afternoon. This is Dave Rogie. I'm here this afternoon with Barry DePaoli, the principal of the Chelan High School, but only for about, I guess, another 30 days or 40 days, Barry?
Well, actually, July 31st will be my last day here.
Okay, so you will be, no, so you have to work.
Actually, June 30th. July 1st will be my first date on the job at the city's office.
And he is going to become our new superintendent here. Dr. Manahan has chosen to move on and back to the other side of the mountains near family and that type of thing, as I understand. And so Barry has been chosen as our new superintendent for the Lake Chelan School District, and could not be a better choice. Congratulations, Barry. I mean that sincerely. Let's talk a little bit about, I wanted to take the opportunity to introduce Barry a little bit more to the community, even though you've lived here for a long time. Most everybody knows you, but sometimes they only know the working Barry, not necessarily the personal Barry. So let's take a minute, and I know you're from Canada, so let's kind of start there. Tell us a little bit about your background, where you came from, and kind of where you went to school, those kinds of things. A little bit about your town.
Okay. Well, I grew up in a place called Castlegar, British Columbia. I was born in Fernie, which is east of Chelan and north of Coeur d'Alene. And was there for about 5 years, and then my family moved to Castlegar. My dad was an electrician. My mom was a stay-home mom. They're both Italian immigrants. My mom was born in Italy, and my father was born in Canada, but his parents were born in Italy, so I have a lot of Italian background. Went to school at Stanley Humphreys High School. Graduated in '76, and from that point I went to Eastern. I was recruited to play tennis there, so I played on a scholarship for 4 years at Eastern. Really enjoyed that. Went back home and taught at the same school that I went to for several years, and then went back to Eastern, got my master's in actually exercise physiology. My wife's a dietitian, so at what point we were thinking about doing some consulting in fitness. And then I went back and did an internship, actually taught at a college for a couple years as part of my master's program, really enjoyed that. And then decided that really I wanted to be in administration, I wanted to be in a leadership position where I could have a bigger influence on kids in schools. So I took my first administrative job was in Kimberley, British Columbia. I was a middle school vice principal, then was moved up to the high school, spent about 4 years there. And then my wife got the itch to move back to Chelan, and she was interested in getting into business. There was an opportunity to run a motel, so she talked me into giving up my career and moving south to Chelan, and I was excited to do that. It was a totally new venture for us. She had moved several times for my work, so I felt like I owed her one. My daughter was only 2 at the time, so we moved in about 1994. And we started working together at the motel business, and after about 5 years I really missed education, and my heart was really to be back in education. I got an opportunity to work at the Skill Center, Skill Source, and I was a GED teacher for about a year, and took an alternative education position in Chelan. And then from there was the middle school principal for about 5 years, and then got the opportunity to be the high school principal, and it's been a great 10-year run for me. I've really enjoyed it.
Well, and you've done a great job. I mean, this program, the school, as an outsider looking in, I can say that the school and the programs with the CTE program, the technical building now, with all the things going on, and your influence is clear everywhere you look within the school, and that is a terrific thing. You mentioned your wife, and of course that's Jackie, and right. Jackie is a homegirl here from Chelan. And so let's talk a little bit about your family. Okay. You mentioned you went to Eastern. I'm guessing that's probably where you met Jackie?
Yeah, I met Jackie at Eastern, and I can remember, I think I was on the tennis court, and she talked to me a little bit, and we had a couple dates together and some tennis lessons, and it just, from there it grew into a very close relationship. She's probably she is my best friend, always has been. I have a ton of respect for her. She's been extremely supportive of my career and endeavors that I've wanted to take up, and she's very invested in our community. She's not only supports me, but she does a lot of volunteer work throughout the community, both through the Catholic Church and through some of the organizations that she works with that are nonprofits. Her heart's really in this community. She loves Chelan, and I'm glad she talked me to moving her, because I've never regretted moving down to Chelan. It's been really a highlight for me, and I feel very blessed to be able to work in this school district, and blessed to be married to her. She's a huge inspiration in my life.
She's a wonderful person. You're a very lucky man. Your daughter, graduating college pretty soon, correct?
Yes, McGarrah graduated from high school in 2012, and then went to the University of Washington, and she is a senior this year, and she'll graduate day after our kids graduate so she'll graduate on June 11th from the U, and you know, she's excited to do some exploring in her own career, maybe some travel, and then I think she's going to go back and do some graduate work.
What type of career is she looking to?
She did a Bachelor of Science degree in public health, and so she can go either the science route or administration. I think she's leaning towards leadership at this point. So she's investigating a little bit, exploring a little bit. Very proud of her. She's done really well. She's a hardworking kid, and yeah, she'll be fine. She'll do really well.
Yeah, she's chosen a good direction, because you're right, she can go either way, and administration, hospital administration, healthcare administration, things like that, of course, you need to get that next step of the master's, so
Right.
it's good she's looking at that.
Yeah.
But those are lots of opportunities out there for those. I know we have a couple of students from here who actually have now gone in that direction, and so it's, you know, it's a good way to go for young people today looking to a business or a management type of career, so good luck to her. Let's talk a little bit more about your administration. You mentioned that after a few years of teaching, you decided you wanted to get into administration. What was the one thing, and getting into leadership, what was the one thing that was there kind of nagging at you that you said, gee, I want to get this accomplished, I want to see this happen?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Dave, because as I taught, I coached a lot. I was very involved in athletics and really enjoyed that. And I had an opportunity through School District Canada to go to a leadership academy in Victoria, and so they saw some potential in me, I think, and I did that. I went to the academy, and after doing that, I was pretty motivated to get into the school admin piece, and after doing a couple years at the college, came back and then got an opportunity. And you know, I think the biggest change for me from going from teaching into administration was just the lack of contact with students, and that was a difficult year in my first transition, but I try to find ways, either at lunch or obviously after school when we have sporting events and band concerts, to connect with the kids. And really they are, you know, they're my motivation to be at school. I always say that we have great kids in Chelan, and I look at the growth that some of our kids go through from 9th to 12th grade, and it's phenomenal what these kids end up doing and their motivation. And you know, then you see them graduate from college and the successful part of their lives, and it's just real. I think most educators would really, that's what keeps us in the business, is just we just relish the fact that we can see such growth and have that influence on kids. So I think that was the motivation, was to have a bigger influence. And you know, I do like leading people. I like being part of new innovative ideas and challenging our staff, and I think everyone knows the staff at this high school is first class. I mean, you can go down the hallway here, and just the programs we run, we're really blessed to have the teachers we have in this building.
And I certainly agree with that. Now that I've had the opportunity to do a little bit of be on the inside looking out this for a while, and getting to know them, you're right. And it's amazing to watch some of them with their technique, the personalness with which
Right.
they teach, but yet the firmness in terms of keeping things in control, because you have to be able to do that, I'm sure. Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about superintendentship. At what point did you decide that was really where you wanted to go, to take that kind of that last step, if you will?
Well, I'll be honest, Dave, you know, I never really thought that wasn't in my sphere. I don't have a superintendent's credential. So I think the opportunity was there. I was seeking some other opportunities. I serve on the state board for principals, and saw a couple things that tugged at me in terms of coaching principals at some point, and an opportunity came up in Wenatchee as the assistant superintendent there at the ESD, and that really, I looked into that and actually applied for it. And then, of course, Dr. Manahan left and had a really positive meeting with our school board. And so at that point, I'm really excited to take on kind of a new challenge, look at education through a much larger lens than being the high school principal. I know we have great people here. I think any organization is about its people, so I want to be able to, move the district forward. There's some great building blocks set here. I want to keep moving us forward, looking at, where we can go in the 21st century. There's a lot of new programs out there, a lot of innovative ideas. I want to be able to encourage our staff to take on some of those ideas and keep moving the building and the community forward. And I just feel blessed to have the opportunity. I'm very grateful to the board. I'm grateful to this community. They've given me tons of support over the years. I've been here 15 years, and I don't regret 1 minute of the time I spent in the building working for the school district or our community or our kids.
With what would you say, and you kind of touched on it, but where, if you were to really fine tune that lens right now, what are some of the primary things that you would like to see start to happen with the school system?
Well, I think what we're about, really, when you really boil it down, we're about creating futures for kids. This building is about getting a diploma, and that diploma really is an opportunity for the future for our students. So, I think we have that mentality that we want to create futures for our kids, and that doesn't necessarily mean just college. That means certification programs. It means technical programs. I know, just looking at stats from a couple years ago, that out of the kids that go to school globally, only about 50% are working in their degree field. So we want to make sure our kids are not just college ready, but maybe it's career ready. Maybe they're ready to launch right into a career. There's just so many opportunities out there. So I think one of my goals will be to really look at each student personally and try and determine, through the relationships our staff have and the programs we have here, to help them reach their potential, and also to really think about their future and their careers. And that's hard to do when you're 16 or 17. But I look at the mentorship programs we offer now. So I think we're really moving into an area now where we're looking at learning much more authentically. There's a lot more hands-on things going on. We're trying to tie in what we're doing in the school to what's happening in the world globally. We're bringing in new courses all the time. I know next year we're going to be offering an AP psychology course. We're looking at bringing in physical science into our science program. There's just, I think every year we try to look at where we can move and where our students' interest is. So I think if you were to ask me where I want the district to go, it's to really get into that 21st century mindset. Kids, not just giving them content skills, but the skills to work in teams, the skills to be able to collaborate with one another, and teaching them how to think for themselves, so they're not regurgitating facts, but they're actually really sitting and thinking and talking. And I think we all know that, in order to learn, the brain has to talk. You can't just listen. So sharing ideas with one another, building models together, there's so much out there. The world's changing so rapidly, and then weaving the whole idea of technology into that. As you know, I mean, you're a tech guy, Dave, so you know a lot about technology. Our kids need to be adaptive, flexible, and they need to have a really high level of technology to survive. So there's a lot of new things happening, and I think for me, I want to encourage and support this staff and continually move our district forward.
Well, and I know the other thing that if I've learned one thing about you, it's that you also look at how can we make it enjoyable so they want to learn,
Right.
i.e. let's have a little fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what you and I've talked about in terms of where we'd like to see some of the video stuff going and the opportunities. It's amazing how receptive everyone is and how excited they are about seeing this thing unfold and grow next year. With that, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you. Let's talk for a moment about physical plants. They've got that property they've had now for a while. There's been talk about off and on about schools changing and building new buildings and moving people around to better suit the sociological aspects of their life as they grow. Where is Barry DePaoli in that thought process at this point?
I think we're at a really important time in our district. We just went through a visioning exercise with our community. So we looked at, where are we going academically, where are we going facility-wise, what is our community partnerships going to look like with business, what's early childhood going to look like. So we looked at these 6 different visioning areas, and probably the one that's really right in front of us right now is facilities. We're slowly growing, even though we built the new Career and Tech Center. We're pretty crowded here. We have some classrooms that aren't the best teaching spaces. We're making do with that. So, the debate is, do we look at building a middle school? Do we look at combining and making it a 5-8 so that Mo has got more space, because Mo is extremely crowded as well. So these next few years will involve a lot of study. They'll involve a lot of discussion with our community. And I'll say this, Dave, anything that I work with our community to move forward on, we're going to do it right. I think it's really important. Anytime you build or look at land and develop land, you got to do it right. You got to do the research. You got to get everything on the table. You've got to get the community on board. And I'm excited for that. That's going to be a lot of work, but it's the right work. And I think we're at a point now where we've got some buildings that are aging, and we really need to look forward and say, what's this going to look like in a few years? Because it takes about 5 years really to get something designed, drafted architecturally, and then built. So the time's right, but we're going to do a lot of study first, and we're going to do it right. My preference, if you were to ask me my preference, and I'll just throw it out, I really believe we need a middle school. We need a new middle school, and we need to take the pressure off just how crowded our building is and give those kids their own space. So we'll look at all the scenarios, and of course the board will be highly involved in that as well, and we'll do the research, and when we're ready to present to the community and get people on board and move forward, and then that'll happen.
Sure. Well, I've got one last question for you. Thank you. You've been very kind with your time so far, and I know you're busy. So you are a people person when it comes right down to it. You have mentioned it several times, your connection with the kids, your connection with the community, connection with your staff. You're going to be in a new job, a job that's going to be pulling you this way and pulling you this way, and even forward and backwards. So
Right.
how is Barry going to deal with that and make sure that he doesn't lose what's most special about him, which is that ability to talk with people and make them feel at ease and to have that relationship?
Well, I've thought about that, Dave, and moving across the street can be pretty lonely because you're not with kids anymore. For the first time in my career, I'll be in a building where there's no students. So, it's really important for me, for people I work with, to know that I don't really want to be their boss. I think that's a 1960s model. I want to be their leader. I want to be the guy who encourages them, supports them, they can confide in, they can trust. So I'm going to be out a lot. I'll be out communicating with staff a lot. I'll be out in all the buildings. It'll be good for me to get over to Mo because I don't get in that building very often. Seeing younger kids, I'm going to listen a lot. I think for me, I've learned more by listening to people and what their needs are. I'm not going to make decisions, irrationally. I'm going to take in all people's consideration, and I'm not afraid to make a decision, but I want to make sure I do my research first. So I certainly don't want to lose those connections. I know this staff really well. I've worked with the middle school teachers in my past administrative career, and I'm going to learn a little bit more about Mo, but I'm excited for that, and I don't want to lose those connections because my leadership style is very relational, and I don't want to change that, and I think it's no different than coaching. You coach to your personality. You can't be someone else. So, I am who I am, and I'm not going to change that. I'm going to make sure people know that they have my support and I have their back. And we've got such a gift here to work with great kids and a great supportive community. I'm just really excited about moving forward and looking at education through a larger lens. And I'm sure I'm going to learn a lot next year, but I'm ready for it.
All right. Well, Barry, I just want to once again congratulate you. It's very clear what has been established here over your tenure, and I know that as you begin this new tenure and the direction that you're going, only good things can happen because you are insightful, you can see the future, you are open to suggestion, you throw everything out on the table and mix it up, and then whatever manages to rise to the surface. You're very supportive once you grasp the concept of what somebody's trying to do or talk to you or a program or whatever, and it's, everybody all man forward, and I can't, in my opinion, this school district has won a big victory. Not that Dr. Manahan wasn't a very good person, but everyone out in the community, as we talk amongst ourselves and as you talk to teachers in the building, we all feel that that you're coming in as the superintendent is going to do some very special things for this school district. It's going to be special for you, it's going to be special for your family, and of course, I know that you believe that that is first and foremost, so how you involve them and they're involved, and what have you, along with the family that you have created for yourself here, all of those things are going to move with you and move forward with you, knowing full well that they get the support that they need from you, and I know that they're going to want to be there to support you as you see your goals and your dreams develop for this school district. So, everybody wins in a situation. Dr. Manahan gets to be with his grandchildren. You get to proceed a little bit further in your career and try something a little different and challenge yourself. And everybody, I just don't see how everybody wins. That's the best way to describe
Well, thank
it.
you, Dave, and I appreciate your kind words and words of confidence. And like I say, I'm going to give this job 110%, and this community deserves that. So does our kids. So looking forward to it.
Great. Well, it's going to be fun seeing you bouncing around and keeping busy and putting around in the little VW there with the convertible top down, and it'll be good to see you out about when you can get there. But also know that if there are people out here, including myself, that are involved in the programs here now, that if we can be of help in supporting you in some way, don't ever hesitate to call.
Sure appreciate that, Dave.
All
Thank
right.
you.
This has been Dave Rogie here. I've been visiting with Barry DePaoli, the current principal of the high school, soon to be the Chelan School District Superintendent, and we wish him all the best, and we thank him so much for your valuable time. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Dave.
You bet. Have a great afternoon, folks.